Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. I'm going to move right on. This is Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 7, episode 13. You know what? I'm just going to say already, before we even get started, Kenya. So I'm just Kenya. Ciao. First thing we see, that motherfucking Kenya with her goddamn ugly ass shoes. You know, she's always running around with some goddamn ugly shoes on. And she took her monkey ass in there to see Roger Bob. She's in there calling herself pitching a project to him, and it wasn't nothing but some bullshit. It was a whole, she wants to do a pilot, and all the characters were, we ain't even gonna say loosely based on the characters from this show. The one character's name was No, and Chow, get out of here. And it was a character about Nene, a character about Phaedra, and a character about I can't even think of who the other person was, but it was just so fucking corny and such a waste of motherfucking film on Kenya's ass. She's ridiculous. And I'm sitting there and I felt as though Bravo was wasting my time. Okay? So you want me to believe, really, that Roger Bob, who's supposed to be this executive person, he let this bitch waste his time with this bullshit? Come on, y'all. You have to do better than that, Andy. That was a mess. That was a waste. And that basically goes into how I'm actually late posting this, because not did I fall asleep on the show one time on Sunday. I fell asleep on this motherfucker 3 times, okay? I fell asleep on this bitch when it aired at 8 o'clock. I fell asleep again on this bitch when it aired at 10. Okay? And I fell asleep on the motherfucker again when it aired at 1 o'clock. So now I'm saying, is it me? No, motherfuckers. 3 strikes, you're out. It was some bullshit. But whatever. Down off the soapbox. But bam, and let's move on. But that was the first scene. I said, really, just stop. Anyway, moving forward. We went with Phaedra. She goes to see Dr. G. If you don't know who Dr. G is actually a psychologist, who he's actually married to Quad, who you all know I love so much. Those two are from Married to Medicine. I love that show, Married to Medicine. They'll be back soon, in the months to come. But anyway, so they went to see them, and Chloe and Corey, that's Quad's little dogs, and they was running around carrying on. But anyway, she went to talk to Dr. G about how to handle this whole thing with Aiden and the baby. And it's more so Aiden, I believe, because, you know, the baby don't know what the fuck's going on. But whether or not to take him to the jail. All of this is being done for the show because Phaedra already got it in her mind. And I don't know if you all ain't paying no attention, but Phaedra ain't taking them motherfucking babies to the jailhouse. Do you understand that? She's not. She's not. And if she did, I'd be very, very surprised. But all I've got from that bitch, my babies ain't going to motherfucking jail. You know, and all this, she's just doing this. This is for camera time. But anyway, that was fine because I was glad to see Quad Dr. G because I like that couple. Likes that Married to Medicine. You know, we seen Dr. Jackie not long ago when we were looking at Candy and Todd and his non-working sperm because the drawers was too tight. Okay, anyway. So, next thing we see Portia and Nene. They're having a little lunch or whatever. And Portia's talking about how, you know, they're having this party first. Basically, a welcome party to her coming onto the cast and everything at the Ricky Smiley show and all that. And it's, you know, that kind of thing. And she was going on and on about, you know, they were talking about Claudia, and that's what dumbass Portia was saying that her publicist just hired everybody because it was really about Ricky Smiley's show, so everybody was invited. So we know that Claudia was invited. She says, I don't think that Claudia, I hope she has enough sense not to show up to my event. Well, whatever. Anyway, they started talking about the things that Claudia was talking about and how she, was saying, that she's fucking for all these things and all of this. Now, Portia says, I work for what I have. And I'm grateful for any blessings that God drops on me. Okay, now I'm going to stop you, Portia. You and this God thing, girl, God has not dropped blessings on you, baby. You fucked. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You can be proud of what you did, bitch. You fucked. And you got cars, and you got bags, and you got clothes. Well, and then that clothes, we're going to talk about that too. Bitch, do you ever wear a whole dress? Do you ever wear a whole dress? Because to me, it's not cute. You're not a bad looking girl, and you're built real nice, and that's cool. But where that slut thing comes in, because you dress like a slut, a complete and utter slut. Every time I see you, Portia, you're dressed up somewhere. Your dress is too motherfucking little. It's too short. You know what I mean? That's not cute all the time. It really is not cute none of the time, actually. A micro mini dress, that shit went out in the 80s. Nobody wears that shit. Anything that's so motherfucking short, you walk by, bitch, and I smell your pussy, is ridiculous. And it don't look good. You can't bend over. You can't sit down. None of that shit. That was in the 80s. And that shit was trampy back then in the 80s. It wasn't cute back then. And it definitely ain't cute now. I'm going to move right on into her party. She had this party and shit. And I'm like, you look a mess. She had this dress on, too short, all sheer. Fuck, when she was at the restaurant with Nene, you got on the fucking dress was another short dress, and the top of it looked like a damn swimsuit from Sports Illustrated. That whole slutty, whorish look, that's not cute. That's not cute, and you think you some type of debutante. Bitch, you look like a tramp. But anyway, you continue on, doofball. You look at where it come from. You looking at her mother, this bitch is over there with skinny jeans and a too tight shirt and 12 bags of weave on. She trying to be young too. So, foolishness kind of like trickles down from the top and keeps on going. Anyway, before I go right into her party, that motherfucker Claudia, and I know y'all always have to be with Claudia. Fuck Claudia. That bitch is a troublemaker from way back. It was cool when she read Nene and all that. But now what I'm seeing, Claudia just is literally out looking for trouble. Going to things to start shit. She had Derek J come over there to style her and, pick out a wig and all that. And he shows up with his garments from the Nene Leakes collection. I said, all right, Derek, bitch. He had his little jacket on. And the jacket wasn't bad, but everything that he puts on, it pretty much looks a mess on him. Because it's always bought in a size too small. But the little pieces, like Claudia said, she was like, oh, I'm surprised that came out of Nene's line. And she gave Nene her props, but it was, a backhanded, honey, But, I ain't got a problem with Nene's clothes. Girl, make your money. Make your money. Only thing is I designed, shirts with the holes in the shoulder and the cocoon. I did that shit like 10 years ago, but I'm not on QVC. Nobody picked me up and put me on QVC. I ain't no hater. Nene, make your motherfucking money. And she wears the shit, and people say what they want to say. Those things actually do look nice on Nene because the bitch is an Amazon, and those things work for, taller, bigger, curvier women. And I think her stuff is cool. I ain't got no problem with it. Now, Derek, you needed another size up in that jacket, boo. You really did, Like you always need a size up in them shoes. All them feet, honey. Anyway, moving on. Claudia basically already had told Derek that she was planning on starting some shit at the party. And that's exactly what she did. She went to Portia's party, knew that she wasn't really, they didn't really want her there. And she sat in the table in the booth right behind Portia's family, made it a point to sit over there. And there's this bitch named Beyonce who is, she works, I think she's a producer for the show. And she sat over there and she was just as messy. She was messy. And Claudia was steadily, she's always like this, honey. Because that bitch is a drunk. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. That bitch needs to go to the clinic and fucking air out. But that Beyonce chick sat over there and she was saying something about, Claudia said, didn't you say when I first came you didn't like me or something? And she was like, no, I needed to let you know that you weren't the shit. You know, and she is, that Beyonce was messy boots. Oh, and trust, all she got is the name, baby. She don't look anything like Beyonce on her. Anyway. But Portia's mother was talking shit. Okay? Portia's mammy sat right over there in that booth and said, oh, there goes that wicked city woman. Really, Mom? Really? Just didn't get it. Anyway, she sat up there. Claudia got her liquid courage up in her, baby, and then gonna call Portia over. Portia came over, real nice, she's being a lady with that dumb dress on, sat down, and Claudia started going on with some bullshit. This is not the time or place. They all talking about the shit that happened in the van and all that, and Portia's like, girl, listen, let me tell you something. I have this discernment. I said, girl, here we go, back to the church again. Sit your ass down, bitch. Sit down. But whatever, she's saying, you know, anytime some bad energy comes my way, I just deflect it and get it away from me. You know, she was real ladylike with it. Claudia just kept pushing, and kept pushing, and kept pushing, and kept pushing. Because that's what she does. She's one of those bitches that keep pushing, and they want to see you come out of pocket. You know what I mean? But my thing is, and I know it ain't right, but I'm going to go on and say it. I would love to see Portia drag Claudia. Now that I would love to see, because we already know Claudia is not a fighter, and neither is Portia really. But I'm thinking Claudia. Well, I felt like Kenya needed to have her ass beat too, but Claudia really needs her ass whooped. Kenya's just old smart bitch, but Claudia literally set out to go, well, I guess Kenya did too, because she brought all them props and all that shit. Yeah, well, she need her ass whooped. I'm just going to throw that one out there. Somebody needs to whoop Claudia's ass. And, you know, because when you're going out looking for trouble, trouble's cool. If trouble finds you and you got to handle it, I'm good with that. But to go out looking for trouble, she need her motherfucking ass whooped. She really do. And that whole thing with her going to that party with all that old bullshit she did, that bitch's ass need to be tore out of the frame. But anyway, she kept on. Portia dealt with it till she couldn't, and then she's like, you know, she dismissed the fuck out of Claudia. She's like, yeah, come out of here. Got up real abruptly and just cut her off. And Claudia said something to her, and Portia turned around and said, don't be rude. Don't be rude. Don't be rude. Take that wig off and don't be rude. I cracked up. I said, Lord have mercy. It was a mess. So in that instance, no, Claudia, you didn't let Portia have it. You know what I mean? You didn't, and I ain't no Portia fan. Y'all know I don't even like Portia. But she didn't let Portia have it. Portia was a lady, and I just lived how she just cut her the fuck off real abruptly. And that bitch was sitting over there just as glassy-eyed and drunk. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it because of the fact that you didn't go somewhere and shit popped off. You went somewhere to get the shit started. And I didn't really care for that. Anyway, moving on. Kenya and Brandon got together and they started talking about the fact of everything was going on, and Roger Bob basically done ran for the hills. He done gave Kenya, yeah, girl, I'll call you, basically on that project, okay? And she was saying, you know, she don't have time for all that, that she was going to go ahead, and her and Brandon decided they was going to try to produce the palette themselves. And then she's fucking reading. Again, I'll tell you all this backwards shit. She steadily, I'm worried about Cynthia because she's talking about how she's a great actress and she was on the Cosby Show and that's the only credit she has. And she, all she get, one line was, hi Theo. And that's when old Shady Brandon gonna say, oh yes, and she tore it up. Her acting chops, honey, she laid it out. You two shady queens, honey. I said, that's a mess. Then she said the real thing. Oh, yeah. Steadily reading, Cynthia said, I was thinking about Leon. Maybe we could have Leon, too. So you're going to use Cynthia to get Leon. But meanwhile, you steadily down talking Cynthia. You're a bitch, you fucking Kenya. Now, you're correct in this. You know, you use what you can to get what you want. That's a bitch. That's what a bitch does when she's in business. But you're a shady motherfucker. It's what you really, really are. Shady as hell. Anyway. Okay, so here's the other thing. You know, we was going to get around to Candy. Candy finds out that the goddamn play is a flop. Okay? That Mother's Love. It flopped. 2 weeks into the tour manager then canceled the tour. There's an issue with money. He doesn't have any money to front, any more money to front. Because that's what they said, that the promoter puts up the money and he gets his money back and is paid through the ticket sales. Well, they've only been 2 weeks out. And he's basically, I guess, out of money. So he done bit off more than what he could chew. So Todd's telling Candy, she's over there, you know, she starts crying because that's what she always does. She cries. And my thing is, from what it sounds like, you went cheap for a promoter and you fucking got cheap results. And I'm seeing that about Candy. It seems as though Candy always goes the cheap way. This is why that bitch got so much money. Because the bitch don't spend none. You know, she don't went cheap. Now let's, come on, talk about it. She went cheap with her wedding. You went cheap with your wedding. The most expensive thing for the wedding would have been that ugly ass dress, right? And Rico Chappelle did it pro bono. You go cheap, you get cheap work. Y'all were questioning the stuff, the bridesmaid shit, but y'all went with Rico. You know Rico gave them a hell of a deal, right? So, you know, all that fussing that was going on during her wedding, when you go cheap, you get cheap results. And I thought he did a better job. He did a good job with, you know, the timing was something. It was like a crunch or whatever. There were some issues, but bitch, you weren't working with Dolce & Gabbana. You weren't working with Chanel. You weren't working with Givenchy. You weren't doing any of that. You were working with Rico Chappelle from down in Atlanta. So you got what Rico Chappelle had to give you. But bitch, you could have afforded to call Donatella Versace. But you didn't. And that's what I'm seeing with you. You're always cheap. And then you cry when you get the cheap results. Shut the fuck up. Spend some money sometime, bitch. If you spend money, you'll get better results. Now, my issue, when Todd said, she said, you know, this is going to make me look bad, this, that, thing, and the other, because, you know, people quit their jobs and this, that, and the other to go on tour, and now they jobless, and then they done lost this shit, too. Yeah, that's a mess, and they are going to be looking at you sideways, bitch. And then she's like, yeah, you know, this, that, and the other. Todd's like, I mean, I understand, Kenny. He's like, but, you know, my name is out there, too. That bitch told him, but it's not the same. Why ain't it the same, bitch? His name means just as much to him as yours do to you. He's trying to build a brand. You already got a brand. You're a self-centered bitch. And the more I see you, Candy, the less I'm liking you. I'm like, boy, you got some personality shit that is a motherfucker. You are, you know, more I'm seeing, Candy is Joyce. Candy and Riley and Bertha and all of them except for the thin aunt. I like that thin aunt. But all the rest of them, they are very much alike. They're very self-centered people. Very self-centered. Everything is all about them. That's a hell of a way to be. I can't stand no motherfucker like that. You gonna sit up and tell me that my name being fucked up ain't the same as your name being fucked up. Girl, bye. Anyway. Me, honey. That's all I see from Miss Candy, honey. A mess. Only thing that slows her down with that is a hard dick. A hard dick makes her say, well, wait a minute, honey. Honey, wait a minute. But other than that, and it's the same thing with Joyce. Everything's about me, unless there's a hard dick in the room. And then Joyce is like, oh, somewhere to sit down, child. Yes, God, honey. So, I don't know. I can't get with it. But anyway, so then they go, and her and Todd go down, and they are explaining it to the crew at the candy factory. Child, and this was funny, because they get in there, and they're telling them, you know, what's going on. That motherfucking Don Juan got the cracking jokes and carrying on. Cracking jokes. And he gonna say, yeah, he did that whole thing clowning on Bertha, when Aunt Bertha had made that little comment back in the day about Todd. Gonna say, maybe this was just a setup for Todd to run it back to you with the bullshit. And they all just fell out. Carmen, the little assistant boy, and Don Juan, they were kikiing and cackling and laughing. And you looking over at Todd and Candy, and baby, their faces was giving this, honey. I said, they swole. But they laughed and they key-heed, honey. I said, it was funny to me. But anyway, just the same. My thing is, then they just kept making jokes, and it was fucked up. But this is what I'm going to say, and then I'm going to get on out of here. Okay, Candy. Yeah, you tried something. But what it came out to me, what it looked like to me, with Mother's Love, you didn't really believe in Mother's Love. Okay? And that's the difference between you and Tyler Perry. You will never be like Tyler Perry. You won't. And the thing is, Tyler believes in everything he writes his name on. Everything. Every movie, every play, when he writes his name on that script and pushes it, Tyler believes in that motherfucking script. I'm the same way. I ain't got the money y'all got, so my shit's on a whole different scale. But as far as the belief in what my product is, every fucking book I wrote, I believe in wholeheartedly. And what I did was, I took my money and I invested in that and did what I could do on my level that I'm on. I gave all that I had to each of those projects. If you believed in that play the way you claim you do, Candy, okay, shit didn't work out with the promoter. One, you would have got a better promoter. But that's fine, because that's the learning experience. You got that. That's fine. But you just let it drop. That's it. We ain't heard no more about A Mother's Love. Bitch, if you believed in A Mother's Love, bitch, you'd start writing some checks. You would put your money. You are a multimillionaire, bitch. You would have put your money behind getting your play to move. You would have moved it on. There's no motherfucking way that if I believed in my project the way you claim to believe in A Mother's Love, that I would have let it drop. I wouldn't have. I would have used my money. And that's the difference between you and Tyler Perry. Because I guarantee you, had the shit with the promoter fallen out, Tyler Perry would have started writing some motherfucking checks. That's what he would do, because that's how he does. And his whole story, he believed in the shit he put on paper, and then he put all the paper he had behind it. And that's why he's Tyler Perry of the Tyler Perry Studios and all of that shit. And that's why you're Candy, puppet to Joyce. Next time you go, if you want to write a play and you think you can do it, believe in it. Believe in it. Before you even start trying to push it out there, don't push it out to make $10 off of it. Make sure you believe in the project, and make sure you believe in it enough to put your money behind it. Because that told me a whole lot. A whole lot. And then I'm going to go back like with your album. What happened with the album? What happened? We got people running around all the time funding their own albums and stuff. You have the money. You have it. Where's the album, honey? I'm just saying. Fierce businesswoman? Maybe. I don't know. That whole candy-coated situation? There's other backers involved with that. That ain't all you. You don't seem to ever be willing to spend all your money on the things. I don't see it. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just saying, it's just what I see. Anyway, guys, food for thought. Y'all can thumbs up or thumbs down. You know how that works. I'm done with this for right now. I'll catch up with you guys next week. Bye, guys. Think about that, though. Go back. Look at Miss Candy, honey. That belief system is some of your work, or I'm not getting it. Anyway, moving on. I'll see you guys next week. Later.